Hi, welcome back, and I hope you liked the last video. It was a bit long, so we've edited it. Today we're going to be talking about chemistry. It's a little bit complex, so we've added some notes that you can download, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about my perspective and also a bit about my process when I'm making products. After that, we'll do a little meditation. If you're enjoying these videos, please don't forget to subscribe, like, share and leave a comment below. So let's talk chemistry now. Have you ever wondered why something like lavender actually eases a stressful day away, or something like peppermint just snaps your brain awake? It can feel like it's really magical, but actually it's more to do with chemistry. You know, in every bottle of essential oil, there's an invisible world of compounds that exists. And some essential oils can have up to 200 different constituents. But actually, within the chemistry, it boils down to two families. So the first are the hydrocarbons. Now, these are the energy base. They're made out of carbon and hydrogen and are known as terpenes and are like the backbone of aromatherapy. The first are monoterpenes, and these are a bit like the sprinters, I guess. They're very lively, very energetic. They're quite volatile and they evaporate quickly. So these would be many of the citrus oils. They're very kind of zesty, they're very uplifting for the mood. The second are the sesquiterpenes. Now these are more like the marathon runners. They're much slower, they're much more ploddy. They tend to be very, very calming, very, very soothing. They're much thicker in texture, and they tend to come from the woods and the roots. The next group are the oxygenated compounds. Think of them as the therapeutic drivers. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to refer to my notes for these because there are quite a lot of them. But simply put, what happens is oxygen attaches itself to the hydrocarbon chain, and this creates beautiful fragrant molecules. Okay, so the first in this group are alcohols and esters. Think of them as the pacifiers. So the alcohol fight germs, but they fight them very kind of gently. They're very non-irritating. And the esters, they deliver a sweet floral aroma, and they tend to calm the nervous system down. The second in this group are the aldehydes and the ketones. Think of them as the activators. So aldehydes offer sharp, citrusy wake-up calls, but they are actually quite abrasive, so you wouldn't put them neat on your skin. Secondly, you've got ketones, which excel in clearing congestion. So think of eucalyptus, think of niaouli, those sort of oils. So next is phenols and oxides, the powerhouses. Phenols are heavy artillery. They are really antimicrobial, so they really kill germs. Oxides act as an instant liberator for the respiratory system. They just open up your airways. Every essential oil has a blend of these chemical families within them. You take lemon, which represents monoterpenes. You may have remembered them right at the beginning. Bright, light and uplifting. Then you've got vetiver, which represents the sesquiterpenes. They're the slow, earthy, deep and grounding. Lavender carries alcohols and esters, which are calming and balancing. Lemongrass with aldehydes, which are fresh and sharp. And then rosemary contains ketones that are linked with clarity, and clove actually has phenols. They're strong and protective, and eucalyptus contains oxides, clearing and opening. So what do plants teach us then? Well, roots teach us to anchor, leaves teach us to breathe, flowers to attract, seeds to begin, fruits to nourish, wood to strengthen, and resins to heal. These are biological functions, but they're also repeating patterns in nature. Think about vetiver. It stabilizes soils with its roots, its dense roots, and frankincense, which releases resin as a response to healing. Form and function reflect each other. So now you've got a bit of an understanding of the chemistry of essential oils, I wanted to give you a little bit of my perspective. Now, it's true to say that essential oils tend to have a dominant compound, and that compound actually determines their therapeutic value. So they're very good from the point of functional aromatherapy. Now, the thing to remember is there are hundreds of other components underpinning those dominant compounds, and for me, I believe that they are the alchemy in a plant. I actually believe they are what creates the unique blueprint and signature of a plant, and from my perspective, I think they are probably the most energetic part of the plant. Most of them are in an essential oil at less than 1%. So that immediately tells me that they're more on the vibrational side, and you would pick them up more through waves. So that would be through inhalation, and it would work directly with your brain waves. Now, when I created or went into creating Quantum Alchemy, this was the aspect that really intrigued me, because what I wanted to do is to create a range that actually helped people to kind of transcend this cycle of struggle and suffering and illness and tiredness. So the first idea was to work out what one needed to first regulate people. So there are two functions to these products. The first is obviously a very functional level, which is really about consolidating and balancing a person. So we have one product that regulates, another one that fortifies at very deep cellular level, and then we have another one that actually enhances sleep, which is when you actually vision and you actually begin the whole self-regulation process. The secondary level is obviously at that wave level. So that would be actually to do with all those subtle components we talked about underneath the main components, which are actually the magic. They're actually the alchemy. And so we created, or I created, processes that people could inhale the products alongside using them to regulate their physical being. So that gives you a little insight of how I began to look at quantum alchemy. There's an awful lot that goes into the process. I tend to look at the body in 4 perspectives, the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. And I see the spiritual side more as the potential for change, that dynamic that is out there in the ethers, in the quantum realm, the stuff that we don't think we can change, that actually if you shift your perspective you can. So the other thing I also look at is the quality of the oils. I really hunt around for the best oils, and even when they come to me, I tend to clear them with Reiki, and then the oils actually have Reiki imparted into them once they're finished. So I actually place a very strong intention into every product. Now, if that really piques your interest, then let me know in the comments, because I'll do a video about it. I'll take one of the products and break down how I put it all together. And now we're going to do a meditation. So the first thing I'd like you to do is find somewhere comfortable to sit. Or if you're already sitting in a good seat, that's great. If you want to sit on the floor, you can. On a chair is fine, or lie down. So the first thing we're going to do is what we do every time. Let's get rid of any kind of thinking and stress. So we're going to breathe in, and then we're just going to exhale out with a big sigh. I'm going to do that 3 times, breathing in and out, and in again and out. Going to take 1 deep breath in again, and then we're going to close our eyes as we do that. Okay, we're going to shift our breathing through breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And each time in between, we're going to pause for a few seconds. So breathing in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 2, breathe out for a count of 4, and rest for a count of 2. So let's just get into a lovely little rhythm with that. And as you do that, just feel the sensation of the breath as it's coming into your nose. And then the sensation as it leaves. Be aware of how that feels. Is it cooler as it enters into your body? And is it warmer as you exhale it out? Bringing your focus just to that, the simple rise and fall of the breath. Breathing in and breathing out. If thoughts come in, just recognize they're there and then let them go and just come straight back to the breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Your focus is just on the moment. You're not listening to the noises around you. You're just focused on that simple act of the breath as it enters your nose and the breath as it exits. Keep on breathing in, and now you can add, as you breathe in, allow your belly to swell with air. As you breathe out, let it sink back towards your spine. Doing that again, breathing in through the nose, belly fills. As you breathe out, belly sinks back towards the spine. One more time, breathing in and then breathing out as the belly sinks back towards the spine. With the next breath, I want you to roll your shoulders up to your ears, and then as you exhale, roll them back and down. Breathe in again and roll them back. One more time, breathe them in and roll them back. And now you're going to take your ear to your shoulder, breathing in, and as you take your ear down, you breathe out. Breathe into the top, opposite shoulder, breathing out. Breathing in, one more time to the opposite shoulder as you breathe out. Breathe in all the way up, last time, breathing out to the opposite shoulder. Shaking your shoulders loose, getting the energy into your shoulders, up and down. This really regulates your limb system, so it starts really circulating new energy. And then a nice big breath in and a big sigh out with the sound ha. Ha. And then you're done. See you next time. Bye for now.